Thank you, Joel. I want to first thank the whole Glazier family for this great opportunity and for having the confidence in me to name me your head football coach. To Mark Dominic, throughout the process, a huge reason why I felt comfortable that this was the place. Just the ability to communicate, he and I want to thank you guys for that. My wife and my children, Christy and Joey and Matt and John and Katie, my mom and dad that are here today, that have stuck by me. And coaching is a very demanding profession, one that families sometimes have to wait, take a back seat, however you want to say it, and there's no great coach who doesn't have a great family behind them. And all the people at Rutgers, I'd like to thank them for the great efforts that they put forth over the years. Tremendous. 12 years ago, Bob Mulcahy, the athletic director, hired me at 34 years old, the youngest coach in the country, took a chance on me. For that, I'll ever be grateful. So why Tampa and why now? You know, there's been several opportunities, as Joel mentioned, to go to places that quote-unquote were bigger names or bigger programs. And at times I'd listen, but when I tried to put myself there, I just didn't feel good. As I went through this process and pictured myself being the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I only felt one feeling that was negative, and that was sadness of leaving my players and the people in that building. But other than that, it was tremendous excitement, and that's how I knew this was the one. You know, after spending several hours with Brian and Ed and Joel and Mark, I learned two things. Number one, I learned how important family is to them. And number two, I learned how committed they are to being the very, very best. And that's me. If you said describe yourself, that's me. It's family, and it's that whatever you set your mind to do, have a plan and do it the very best you can. You know, the legendary Coach John Wooden, you know, I try to live by his definition of success. It's the peace of mind you get when you know you've done everything you can to be the best you can be. Because you can't do anything else. And being around these guys, I get that sense. It's outstanding. We talk about how our team is going to look, how they're going to feel to you. Our team will be built around a humble, unselfish attitude of sacrifice. It's hard to find that in today's world, but that's who we'll be. I'm going to start. We've already started, but I'm going to continue with Mark to put together the best coaching staff that we possibly can. A coaching staff of great teachers and great communicators. That's the key. It doesn't matter how much a coach knows, it matters how much their players know, how they can do it in a quick, instant, and be competitive and win through the information you get them. We're going to collectively teach, as a staff, there will be one common message. Before we get to the X's and O's, before we get to the fundamentals, and it's something that I believe is critical. TBA, and that's not to be announced. It's trust, belief, and accountability. Trust, 100% honesty. There's no room for 99. 100% honesty. And do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. That's trust to me. Belief. Belief in yourself, number one. Belief in the Buccaneer way. There is going to be a Buccaneer way. There are going to be Buccaneer men. You got to believe in that, otherwise this isn't the place. And then accountability. All those things are great, but as a coaching staff and a team and an organization, we have to hold each other accountable. That's not always easy. That's where it gets sticky. That's where it gets tough. That's my job as the head football coach, to make sure that's happening throughout our whole football team and organization. On the field, what's it going to look like? Great defense, win the special teams battle, and be a physical offensive football team that takes shots down the field. Take shots down the field. It's very hard to go 12, 13, 14 play drives. If we miss on a shot, we'll line up and play defense again, get the ball back, and go after them again. Physical, run the football physically and take shots down the field. that formula works. As long as you play great defense and you win the kicking game, that formula works. To do this in an organization that has as young and talented a core of players as the Buccaneers do. You know, I said this to the Glazer family and to Mark in our discussions. I've been in the NFL. I've been a head coach for 11 years. I did not need to be a head coach in the National Football League today. I believed that it was going to happen. So I really studied the team. I studied the situation. I studied the ownership. I studied Mark. And that's what makes me comfortable. Every time I did it, I said, that's an advantage. We got a chance there. That's great. And then to come to this great facility is just icing on the cake. So that talented young core, this great facility, and then a team with great tradition. I mean, Super Bowl tradition in this organization. Some teams play for years and never get to have that in their building. You know, I went upstairs to the Glazers' office, and when the elevator opened, there was the Lombardi trophy on the wall. Not missed by me. And that is the ultimate goal. That's where we're headed. Buccaneer alumni. You know, I was a young assistant at the University of Miami. I was the defensive coordinator. I can remember making the drive up here and watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense work and seeing some of the legendary players. Then going to the Chicago Bears, having come from the Chicago Bears, rather, and knowing Derek Brooks and guys like Warren Sapp and saying, wow. Right? So to have that tradition, to have this place, really exciting. And then to have a passionate fan base that I understand, you know, we got to reconnect with our fan base. And I can't wait to do it because we have to earn your trust. This Buccaneer football team will earn your trust. We'll earn your trust on the football field. We'll earn your trust in the community. All right? Something that you can be proud of. And that's be honest and do what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it. And that's how relationships grow, and that's how we're going to rebuild that relationship with our fan base. And I can't wait to do it. I think the collective vision of the Glazer family, of Mark Dominic, and myself, being so closely aligned, what we believe in, at the end of the day, that's the key. That there's a collective vision and a collective message that will permeate this building and will lead us to championships. So with that, I believe we're going to open it up to questions.
With questions, please raise your hand. If you have a microphone, please identify yourself and your organization. Hey, Coach Chip Carter, Fox 13 in Tampa. Welcome to Tampa. Welcome you and your family. You're going to be a busy guy. You've got a full schedule. When you looked at everything, you know, and made the decision to come down here, is there a time frame in your mind? I know they're giving you a 5-year deal, but how fast do you think you can create that kind of a turnaround?
Chip, I don't believe in doing anything except to be the best. So we're going to try to be the best today, starting today. How long that'll take, I can't tell you that. We're going to work and be the best we can be every single minute. And I've said this many times. When our best is the best, we'll be Super Bowl champs.
Hi, Coach. Chris Field with Fox 13 Sports. Welcome as well.
Thanks.
A lot of people describe you as a disciplinarian. Do you describe yourself as a disciplinarian? What will that mean to the players?
Well, you know, disciplinarian has this connotation of a guy who's a tyrant or so. I think it's trust. Do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. If we're meeting at this time, well, that's what time we're meeting. I'm not a believer in Lombardi time, you know, you're 5 minutes early, you're 10, that stuff. If we say 8 o'clock, everybody's seated, ready to go with their pads open, their books open, and we're ready to work. We're very efficient. We don't waste time. The practice field is going to look like a organized chaos, people moving everywhere. I think time, you know, I grew up in the coaching system of Joe Paterno. That's where I really cut my teeth. His number one statement, time is our enemy. That's the only thing that all of us in this planet have the same amount of, 1,440 minutes a day. What you make of them, that's going to determine your success. So we're going to be efficient, we're going to do what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it, and that's going to lead to our success.
Hi, Coach. Over here. Hi, Dan Lucas, News Channel 8 Tampa. I'm not sure how much you've had a chance to look at the tools you have here to start with, but is there anything on this team or on the roster particularly that excites you and you can't wait to get your hands on them?
Well, I think just what I mentioned in my opening statements, it's a young core of very talented guys. Now, until you actually coach them, how do you know how talented? I've watched video. I've talked to people I know in the National Football League, and I'm very impressed with the young group, that core group. In any organization, you start with your core and you work out. So if we have that core, and not only good players, but great people, that's the key. And then we'll keep expanding it.
Hi, Coach. Scott Reynolds from PewterReport.com. You've played against Josh Freeman before in college. What's your impressions of Josh, and how important was it for you that this team have a franchise quarterback in place for you to accept the job?
Well, you're right. We did play against Josh. Now, he was a freshman in college, but I can remember preparing for the bowl game, being scared to death. I said, if this guy breaks out of the pocket, we are in trouble because he's such a big man. I'm excited, to have Josh here and to have so many other talented players here. And as we do everything, guys, competition, that's what rises. That's what makes everybody rise to the top. And we are going to compete. We're going to compete in every drill. We're going to compete in everything we do because that's, again, if you do your best, you can't do anything more. And that's what I'm going to demand of our players, our coaches, myself, is that whatever we set out to do, you do it the best you can.
Yeah, Coach, Dave Worth from 10 News. Could you give us just a little timeline about when it became evident that this team was very serious with you and you were serious about pursuing the opening here? And also, had you been monitoring their search for a coach over the last 3 weeks?
Well, in coaching, there's always a lot of dialogue that goes around, and it's not always directly from the Glazier family right to Greg Schiano. There's feelers, but really what happened with this job is it really accelerated early this week and became a reality. My days are confused now. Just yesterday. So, but when it happened, it then happened fast. But up until that point, I had a job to do as the head coach of Rutgers. And I can tell you that it's hard to go through that process and continue to be the head coach at Rutgers. So I was glad that it only lasted for a couple days.
Coach, you said, and I know that you've had other opportunities to go somewhere else in head coaching slots. What assurances, what did you want from this organization, this group of owners, GM Mark Dominic, before you ended up here in Tampa? I mean, assurances in terms of maybe free agent spending, a voice in the draft, that kind of thing.
My whole belief is it's about people and the relationships of people. So I really needed to just sit with them and get the feel that we have the same vision. I know that they want to be the best, and they're going to do what it takes to be the best, but we're going to do it responsibly, right? They hired myself. They have Mark here. We are going to work together as a group, and we're going to bring championships back to Tampa. And as long as I go everything with trust. If I trust the people I'm working with, there's no stopping us. And I do, in the hours we spent together, it just got better and better as I learned about who they were and what was at their core.
Coach, up here, Rock Riley from Bright House Sports Network. Unfortunately, the track record from college coaches going to the NFL, if you look at numbers, is not that good. What makes you so confident that you can be successful in the NFL? Is it because of what you learned when you were with the Chicago Bears?
Well, some of it. Other parts, I've been a head coach for 11 years. I'm awfully glad that this isn't my first head coaching job. But the reality is, it's easy to point at college coaches that have made that jump. But 6, 8, 9 coaches a year get replaced, so they're pro coaches that are getting fired as well. So, I mean, really, if you look at it in the whole, percentages are percentages. Everybody has trouble. It's a competitive league. That's the fun part of it.
Coach, along those same lines, you did mention that it doesn't matter what the coaches know, it matters what the players know, but will it be a priority to hire assistants who have that NFL experience?
It'll be a priority to hire assistants that are great teachers, great communicators, and great people. Whether they come from the National Football League, which I know several people that are, or they come from the college ranks. The key is hiring the right people. And whatever gets the desired result, I'm not that concerned. Mark and I are going to go through that, and we're just going to work together to put the best staff that we possibly can in this building.
Greg, Stephen Holder, Tampa Bay Times. People, when they talk about character and the type of man that you are, and you talked about Paterno being a coaching influence. Tell us just really briefly who some of your life influences were, maybe.
Well, without a doubt, my parents are the biggest life influence. Growing up in a very close family, the work ethic that they taught me. But then I've been blessed to be with some great people professionally. Dick Anderson at Rutgers, the head coach. Mike Miello, my high school coach. And you go down the list, going with Joe Paterno and Dave Wanstead and Butch Davis. Just great people. And then the thing that I have learned over the years of being a head coach, I learned so much from my assistants. I have great guys sitting on my right and on my left at that table and out on that field. So if you listen, you can learn from everybody. But I really have been very fortunate to be around some great coaches and some great men. Because again, it keeps coming back to that relationship that you have with people. And you only want to be involved in those relationships with good people.
Up here, Coach Schiano, Tom Corrin from ABC Action News. Welcome to town. There's always a learning curve in anything, anytime you make a change. From your standpoint, what is the learning curve that you're going to have to go through in order to make that communication the right thing with the players and everything works the way you want it to work?
Well, there's certainly a learning curve in anything new, as you mentioned. I think the key is this. Football's football. Players and coaches are players and coaches. We got to teach, communicate. Game day, we have to operate efficiently and do the things that we practice and prepare to do. The things that I'm going to have to acclimate myself to is schedules. It's a different schedule now. I can't wait to be able to work with the players all day. We get them in a small window in college. So I can't wait to be doing football. There isn't recruiting. There isn't those kind of things. So, to be able to build on that is exciting to me. Scheduling, putting together the yearly schedule, all those things that you need to do. It's a different time frame. It's a different mechanism. But as I've always told our guys when we recruited them to Rutgers, this is the highest level of the sport in the world. So the 3 years I spent with the Bears and studying other NFL teams, what we did in college is I took what we did in a full day of football, and all I did was shrink it down to fit the college timeline. And I truly believe that is one of the single biggest reasons that our guys make National Football League teams, is they know how it's going to be when they get there. They're accustomed to the way we prepare, whether it's note-taking or meeting, how we do our meetings, how we do our walkthroughs. We run our organization. We did run our organization at Rutgers as an NFL franchise, except the times were shorter. So now what they learn to do is they learn to do it over a longer time. So I'm confident that all that will work. They just need to get some of the particulars, and that's why it's great to have a guy like Mark who's just going to be right there from the beginning with me, and then whoever we hire will help, and that part I think is easy.
Hi, Coach. Ed Davis, WTA. I was wondering, when you said you're going to assemble a staff and coordinators, you're a defensive-minded guy. Do you plan on wearing two hats, or are you going to hire an offensive coordinator and a separate defensive coordinator?
No, I plan on hiring an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator. I think, I'm going to be involved in all three phases deeply. I love this. We talked a lot about this in our conversations. Football's a passion of mine. I lose track of time when I do football, and that's what I got to make sure. I schedule it right so I get home and spend time with my family and do those things. But I love offense, I love defense, and I love the kicking game equally as much. I just happen to come up on one side of the ball. So I'll have coordinators, but I'll be involved in all three phases. And I think as a CEO-type coach, it doesn't mean you can't be hands-on and involved. I think you can be both if you're passionate about it.
Coach Martin Fenley with the Tampa Tribune. Just talking to people, they say you're a detail guy. You went through a lot of logos before you decided what exact logo you wanted for Rutgers. Are you like that? Are you a micromanager? How would you describe yourself?
I don't think it's a micromanager. And when I went to Rutgers, it was very difficult. There was only one logo. We had 6 logos, and we reduced it down to one logo so that we could build a brand. I don't think it's micromanagement. I think attention to detail is as you delegate responsibility. There's a difference between delegating and turning your back, or delegating and giving feedback, delegating and helping people grow. That's my management style. I want them to be in charge. I want them to lead, but I also want to help them grow. And in turn, that helps me grow, because the feedback, when you have conversation and you communicate, everybody grows. Too many of the problems that occur is when there isn't communication, when guys are bunkered down in their, that's not the way that we'll run this thing. It'll be open communication, honesty, and then we'll grow and grow and grow.
Greg, Key Sargent from the Home News Tribune. How are you?
Sarge?
Tim mentioned yesterday that the uncertainty with the Big East might have had something to do with this. And can you just talk about maybe the unfinished business that you had at Rutgers?
The uncertainty with the Big East didn't have anything to do with this. I can tell you, when all those other opportunities came up, it didn't feel right. This felt right. And you know, Keith, I'm a man of prayer. I prayed about it. I thought about it. I did everything that I could within myself, and this felt right. So, unfinished business. I wish we could have won the national championship at Rutgers, no doubt. But they will. I'm confident. Tim will hire the right guy. We have great players in that program right now. More importantly, great people. And there'll be, you know, it'll be great. And I said to Tim before I left, I can't wait to see Rutgers win a national championship and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win the Super Bowl. That'll make me as happy as any man walking.
Coach, welcome to Tampa. Sam Oxendine with 1010 CBS Sports Radio. Once you have your staff assembled, how aggressive will you be in free agent to complement the talent that you have on this team?
Again, I think that's a decision that Mark, myself, the Glazers, we're going to do everything together. It would be foolish of me to even make a comment now. I don't know the team, you know, and I know Mark does know the team. So we're just going to get to work and do things responsibly. And where it fits, that's what we're going to do. And, you know, I love it. In college football, it was recruit and develop. In pro football, it's draft and develop. I believe that. That is the way I think it goes. So you draft great players and great people, and then you get them here and you develop them, and they get better, and they get better, and they get better. I think that serves you well on the football field, serves you well in the community. Fans get to become attached to the players. And you know what? It's a, you know, I remember being at Chicago and John Lynch and sitting there and saying, wow, I mean, this guy he's a fixture of that football team. That's what you need to do, in my opinion, for a lot of reasons.